Tuesday, 28th of March 2021. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants, squad mates and viewers worldwide on various platforms. Thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting my channel on Twitch, as well as for being very valued members of our community. A very nice sunny day out here in London suburbs, enjoying proper spring after that drizzly cold winter that was just not going to leave us, and certainly the last couple of days have been really very pleasant, and I've spent a lot more time outdoors, I've got to say, and in view of the fact I had my vaccine last week, I feel very strengthened, and certainly I'm taking all the necessary precautions, but I do not have the same degree of hesitation when it comes to seeing sunlight or being out, obviously not being with other people, but just literally going outside to enjoy some of that wonderful fresh air. And honestly, I can see it on my skin, 13 months indoors, no vitamin D, and seeing hardly any daylight now since I think the mid-October. So, and you know, it's been a very difficult time for me and for many of our citizens out here in Britain. But we had no choice. It was the only way through which we can protect ourselves and prevent a tragedy from occurring in our vicinity. Indeed, nobody wanted to bring the virus back home, and therefore creating a situation where somebody else could have it in our own family, our loved ones, or indeed our parents or grandparents, depending on your age, of course. And so I'm feeling a bit brighter, a bit warmer, and a bit sort of forward thinking. I'm considering, first of all, during my break, how to run the channel and what to do next. We've had a quarter of very interesting activities. It was packed with lots of different ideas and various new ventures, one of which of course is this podcast, the latest in the line of many. And I'm very grateful to everyone who was taking time to write, to provide us with feedback, to tell us all about your experiences and also about your gaming, about all that you are presently playing, you know, everything you're planning to do next. And certainly I've been snowed under with a number of messages related to Twitch streams, i.e. how to run a channel, what to do, what's the best way, how do we choose the best possible game to attract a community, how do we build a community. All these questions were being raised, and I've given you several podcasts this week that were just dedicated to that and exactly the directions to which you can probably start out all by yourself with some guidance and some tips. And it's always very good to be connected to some of the experienced streamers, because frequently I have a look at the videos which are on the internet, and many times I find quite a few to be just the multi-level marketing. Either they're selling you a method which is kind of just recirculated and it doesn't have any value whatsoever, or they're trying to sell you products. So it's two things together. You get people who are insisting that you need to be buying certain bits of gear in order to run your stream on a PC, and therefore they're attracting sales for themselves. And you know, just a complete nonsense. Just like any other kind of business, you need to start from the ground up. You need to have the right equipment and the right attitude. You need to have a plan which needs to be written up. You need to explore a bit, first of all about the other people and what they do and what attracts interest, and then you need to get into your own mindset, what you want to be doing, how you want to present yourself to the world, how you want to attract a community of followers. etc., etc. So we talked a lot about that in the week, so today we will be dedicating our time to other things, but I just want to say thank you for all of your questions. Obviously, I'm certainly very hopeful that my tips and ideas will provide you with assistance, and if you need any other advice, just send us a message and we talk about it here live on air, or I'll respond in person. Personally, I mean, if there is a need. So thank you to all who indeed wrote to us during the last couple of weeks, and I'm pleased to say that podcast so far has been receiving lots of views, and it's being listened to on various platforms, so that's really great, and thank you for your time and attention. And we'll carry on as usual. So our podcast is a combination of the community-based news, i.e. the community out there, all the streamers and gamers, as well as our own community here on my channel on Twitch. Then we have the industry news, which come in sometimes in abundance, in very large numbers. And then we also have our community content, and quite frankly we spent a lot of our time during the last couple of weeks on the community content, because obviously I received quite a few messages coming from our members, and I was delighted to be able to provide them with answers and directions. So, as you know, we were talking about all the novelties yesterday, and the biggest of which was having that first ever presentation of ID at Xbox, and that was really truly wonderful. We had a lengthy 3.5-hour presentation of all sorts of indie games that are presently either in circulation or indeed expected, and we are going to have them released on Xbox, and some of them will be also present on Xbox Game Pass. So I was very, very excited to go through all of that. And there were some games that really caught my eye. Talked about them yesterday in depth. We've gone through the whole list of every one of the games that were introduced. And for anyone who's still interested, or perhaps people who were not able to watch it live, you can go to Xbox YouTube channel and then access all the trailers, or you can go to Twitch and find Xbox on Twitch, their channel, which is a novelty, and there is a presentation, the entire presentation that was delivered on Friday, are there for you to watch. So in either way, I think I would firstly recommend the presentation, because it does include lots of developer diaries, and many people who are involved in the production of the games will be there talking to everyone else about the projects and the way they're trying to attract their communities through Xbox and Microsoft platforms. They also talk about experiences and indie gaming overall, so it's very, very valuable. And if you are having no time, you just want to see what these games are really like without any commentary, then obviously the trailers on YouTube channel will be your bread and butter. Today we'll start out with some of the some of the news that was still left pending since yesterday. Just bear with me, I've got some other things coming in at the same time, and we said that on Friday, for the first time ever, Yakuza 6, the Song of Life, now is available through Xbox Game Pass, so that's really terrific. You will remember I talked about Yakuza Remaster Trilogy quite a lot here on my channel, and you've heard from Jeff Rubinstein and from Larry Hribb, the brilliant duo presenters who run Xbox podcast and various other presentations for Microsoft, about Yakuza and its importance within the RPG genre. So anyone interested, absolutely, definitely, you must download the Remaster Trilogy and you must try it, because it's really, really good. And I played Yakuza 4 recently on PlayStation 4 on the old version, and then I looked it up on the Game Pass through its remaster, and it's just really a completely different game. Better quality sound, top-notch graphics, smooth gameplay, better frame rate. It's a no-brainer. You want to have it and you want to try it, so absolutely recommend it to everyone. And I would certainly recommend also that you, once you finish 3, 4 and 5, go to the Yakuza 6, which is giving you the concluding chapter in Yazuma Kiryu Saga, and you'll settle the Dragon of Dojima's past once and for all in this explosive action brawler. So that is definitely 10 out of 10, my personal recommendation. 3 Nakon publisher games as well, optimized for Xbox Series X and S. So this month at Nakon, they're proud to be releasing 3 games optimized for Xbox Series X and S, so that's for the next-gen console, which it means in fact that better frame rate and better smooth gameplay and everything else. So yeah, Monster Truck Championship, Hunting Simulator 2, and Tennis World Tour 2 Complete Edition. All the titles came out first on Xbox One last year, and today basically on Friday they will be focusing on the best possible quality experience, increased frame rate and everything else. So that's really absolutely terrific. So for all of you who are still considering whether to buy or play Watch Dogs Legion, well, this is obviously your weekend. I talked about it quite a lot and I streamed quite a bit this weekend, although not as much as I intended, and I'll tell you in a minute as to why that was. The game, which is available free of charge for almost 5 full days on Xbox, and in fact you can obviously access it on all of the platforms. You just simply need to download it and play it, and you will know that it's for the first time that this AAA blockbuster is indeed available free of charge, which has not been the case before, and I think they're trying to attract many more new members to the community, and I certainly thoroughly enjoyed my gameplay. It kicked off on Thursday afternoon about 3 or 4 o'clock, and I've had probably about 15 to 20 hours of gameplay, and so far progressed to the chapter 3, and actually I was in two minds about it. It looked really like a beautiful version of futuristic London, but then it confused me because obviously being a native Londoner, I know every street in the central area very, very well, and it seemed that certain sections of central London were kind of comprised, kind of squashed. So very quickly you find yourself walking around St Paul's and there's suddenly on King's Cross, like 300 meters. That's really odd. And some landmark sites are clearly visible, but they're all very, very concealed. They're not being provided with proper names, so it's for the obvious reason. And it just seemed, well, it was interesting, but on the other hand, it did bring me back to a game I used to play quite a lot 20 years ago called Getaway, and that was a very similar sort of game, also having an open world with a lot of driving, a predecessor of GTA in fact, released on PlayStation 2, and then once you completed the game and finished all the battles and killed all the gangsters, you were getting a free roaming or free ride through the streets of London, and that was at that time quite revolutionary. You can do the same thing here in Watch Dogs Legion. It's exactly the same sort of thing, and certainly it is providing us with a lot of entertaining content and a lot of activity. I think initially what I experienced was quite a bit of activity that appeared to be like an empty run, so I had to be going from one place to another, roaming the streets, looking at the potential recruits, and there wasn't really the usual activity which would bring in a lot of incursions and enemies. Basically you have the police and private security everywhere in the streets of London, but maybe because I've chosen the easy level, I wasn't getting them all the time to kind of double check on me or provide me with more action. I'm not sure. So once I progressed to I think chapter 2, then the activities became a bit more hectic, and that itself was definitely appreciated because I quite liked exploring some of the facilities, and to be familiar, they are really kind of exploring the idea of next-gen technology, and you have to be using lots of gadgets in order to get in and snatch data, and there's hacking, there's spider bots, there's drones and all sorts, and you need to learn how to use each one of those bits of equipment in order to carry on to complete certain tasks. So that takes a bit of time and it's altogether very good. So I think my first impression after doing it for about 20 hours has been overall very positive, but I think also it feels like a game that is still in the making. It doesn't feel like a fully fledged product. I think one of the criticism launched at the developer was that they had a massive big open world but relatively little activity, and they also felt that the open world was not blending into well with the story, and I think that's certainly I'd say my experience to a degree, although I'm not the person to judge. I've not gone through the whole campaign, and there may be many other activities and many other things there for us to entertain, but it seemed like a lot of interesting ideas, a game with huge potential, which still is not fully there. The most important thing about Watch Dogs for me, which really kind of mesmerized when I heard about it first, was the idea that you would be able to select your potential faction members through anyone who you would meet on the streets. The streets have quite a few people around, but they're not as busy as you would expect in London. That also includes the vehicles. The vehicles aren't really that many, in some of the areas. And I generally find the idea where I'm checking everyone's ID card. You basically zoom in on the person, it tells you exactly who the person is, what special skills they have. Very, very exciting. But I still didn't go to the upper levels, so I would have a very large faction of followers selected and maybe turn into a gang or a clan. I need to see how it works. But if you're making references, I think two games that I've played over the years immediately come to mind, and these games are Splinter Cell, first of all, very stealthy, very quiet, very sneaky type of adventure, and then Assassin's Creed, because really for the character in this game, Watch Dogs Legion, you are to be just sneaking around and not really tackling any enemies unless absolutely necessary, and then hijacking, snatching, hacking, and getting away with all of your deeds. And that really basically is the premise of the gameplay. So if you like Assassin's Creed, if you like Splinter Cell, you will be definitely very happy with some sections of Watch Dogs Legion as well. If you're after fierce action, a lot of encounters, a lot of early kills, well, that's not the game for you, just forget it. They're offering this lengthy free weekend in view of many other things that will come our way. Some DLCs, some celebrations, some new characters, some new content, some new missions, some new campaigns, and I think they will be, or they already have been working very extensively on the additional content. I've got to say the game did not really take off compared to what I expected originally, and during the weekend we've had at most times maybe anything between 50 and 250 viewers on Twitch channel. It doesn't really represent whether the game is really popular or indeed whether the game is very well played by very many, but certainly having not that many viewers and relatively few streamers did tell me that something was not really quite right. So I'm not personally sure what it is, and I'll research it, have a look at it, and get some other ideas, because quite frankly there was a huge anticipation about the game prior to its release, and they talked about it for quite some time. I watched several developer diaries both through Ubisoft and Xbox, and I was very, very excited, but the content in there did not seem to be really delivering. And also the other thing, and I just, a minor thing really, which is technical, but I know that lots of people who are doing video gaming on very large screens will notice that immediately, is you've got two or three different types of backgrounds. So we're looking at Google Maps background to do with London. That looks really polished and beautified, but for instance certain signs, placards, posters, they look really bad. They don't even really come across as razor sharp. So you will have your character who comes across as quite sharp, but I also think the character, like facial expressions and the overall design, could have been done better. They don't really look like next-gen characters, I have to admit, compared to the beauties of the games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or any of the recent basically inclusions. Outriders coming out in a couple of days. It just seems that the characters look to me a bit like I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 years old, and then you have them compared to the background that's razor sharp, and then those kind of signs that appear to be wishy-washy. So that didn't really cut it for me, I've got to admit, and certainly many people who are really in awe of great graphics and tech will notice that straight away. I think, they will have to spend a lot more work on the game if it is to take off in full, and to make it a bit more popular they'll need a lot of PvP content, maybe something that will be very exciting. If in the PvP you are to be using spider bots and drones and that, I mean, I have my hesitation about saying yes, that will be very attractive, because PvP is all about the engagement of small groups and trying to eliminate others one way or the other, and that is the greatest fun for many people who are doing it competitively or trying out various death matches. So that sort of content will need to be worked through. To be fair, I've not gone to the hard difficulty levels. Also, I've not gone through the PvP. So I'm just giving you my first impression after doing my free weekend. Overall impression was very positive. I really enjoyed the game, but it didn't really cut it for me in terms of my expectations and all I've seen previously. I was expecting a greater complexity, first of all, with the story and the way the recruitment the characters would work. Part of it was automated. There were characters that are being brought in and selected as members of my crew whom I did not select, and then there is probably 20 or 30 who are still pending, and they're sort of pending the actual recruitment. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out eventually. And obviously, if any of you played the game or completed it, you'll be able to ping me a message and inform me on all this. Certainly a game I will be playing in the future. They're offering it on significant discount, but when I've heard and seen 70-75% discount, I thought the game was going to cost us £15. But in fact, on Xbox, they're offering it for £30, and I'm afraid that is a bit too steep for what I've seen so far and for me. So I'll be waiting a long while before the prices drop. So the next thing offered is Overcooked, and I talked about Overcooked here quite a bit. Hopefully you are enjoying the game. Hopefully you tried it with your family members. A very, very family-friendly, feel-good type of game, a bit like Spiritfarer. You know, in this instance, Overcooked can bring in other people. You can do it together with your mates, and you'll be learning to cook, and indeed you have a lot of fun in the process of doing so. So if you like chaotic adventure games, and maybe sometimes if you like shouting at your friends and relatives and attempting to extinguish kitchen fires, well, that may well be the game for you, they say. And it's the new DLC All You Can Eat, which is available on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. Another game that I'm very excited about, and I've seen some trailers, although I've not really been exploring, you know, ins and outs of development and everything else, is Sanity of Morris. And I did see it last week, and I saw it initially through the special offer on I think Xbox Gold, or connected to the fact that we are on the ultimate, you know, significant discount on those new games. And Sanity of Morris is a psychological horror storytelling with a paranoid twist, and you can follow the clues that are left behind by your father, who claims to have proof of extraterrestrials in town, and then mysteriously disappears. Sanity of Morris is a chilling psychological horror exactly like you'd expect, complete with scary basements and then various other mysterious corners which you will be exploring. And you have a flashlight and notebook, so you'll be equipped with that, and that will be your tools, and it is up to you to step into the shoes of Jonathan Morris and then keep facts from fiction. You'll be using the flashlight, and you reveal clues. It's a bit like a usual kind of point and click game. And you'll be then finding footprints and hidden messages, and then you'll need to find out the truth. And doing so, you will construct a timeline of events in your journal, and that will help you puzzle out what is actually going on. So you need to be balancing stealth with curiosity, and you follow the trail of breadcrumbs led by your father. You'll have to think twice if you want to follow him blindly, because there will be lots of dangers and challenges there ahead of you. And whatever got him might be out there for you too, and the light that reveals clues will also help enemies who are trying to find you. So in the game, you'll also encounter mysterious plants that react to light, allowing you to create new pathways to traverse. So this will have you move by stealth through bizarre environments, and some of them are quite extraordinary, maybe even too complex to believe. And you really have to find out what your father actually did. And that game is available on Xbox One and Xbox One X and S instantly, so you'll be also able to get it on a discounted price if interested. And to me, this game looks very much like one of those old style adventure, point and click adventure games. The trailer was very good. I'm very excited. I'll be waiting for the game to come up either on Game Pass or indeed to be offered on very low prices. We have joined the grand tourney in Night Squad 2. So change some games. They're offering the release of Night Squad 2, and that will be out on April the 14th. Then we have Harvesting Our Crops with the ID at Xbox Farming Sale. Well, that's interesting because some of the games were included in the presentation, and it's all about the crops. It's all about many of those indie games. If you're interested, you should certainly consider purchasing those which are offered on a very low price, and lots of them will be discounted on Microsoft Store up to 70% off from March the 23rd to March 29th as part of the ID at Xbox Farming Sale on Xbox. So you have Slime Rancher 70% off, Stardew Valley 40% off, Astroneer 50% off, Farm Together 30% off, Farming Simulator 19 33% off, and many other ones. So anyone interested in farming or independent games, well, have a look. These games are accessible straight away and available through Microsoft Store right now. Gems of War is a wonderful game. I'm not sure I purchased it, but it is in my collection, and frequently I play it. It's a bit like the old puzzlers, where you are toying with numbers, with colors, with marbles, and they're all coupled with a very exciting selection of battles and story-driven content. So quite an extraordinary, quite an unusual game, and I thought I was going to be giving to here through DRBMiller introducing at some point, but not at the moment. We have Clutch, Order and Chaos with the Shadow Dragon Legendary Starter Pack. So I'm quite curious to see what that is going to give us, because you need to be first of all gathering your troops, then you need to dive into the depths of Kyastra, so you can jump into the rich and sprawling fantasy world of Gems of War, because the gems is what you play with in there, and a must play for match 3 RPG fans. So great for new Gems of War players who are looking to level up but also want to give a little edge to the teams. The new Shadow Dragon Legendary Starter Pack is here to help Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members kickstart their epic adventures across all kingdoms in Kyastra, just in time for 5.4 update. Order, Chaos and Evernight, hailing from Sword's Edge, this legendary troop doesn't come alone. The starter pack includes not only the Shadow Dragon legendary troop, but a legendary weapon, legendary ingots and a plethora of souls to aid in your battles. So the starter pack will actually include the following: legendary troop, Shadow Dragon, legendary weapon, Order and Chaos, 10 legendary ingots, 1500 souls, exclusive Xbox Mimic Pet for Xbox Series X and S subscribers. So that's really quite special, and it's, I guess, proprietary to the new consoles. And they said the little mimic is sure to keep you company on your adventures. Grab your legendary Shadow Dragon starter pack, boost your attack power, and dominate your battlefield today. And also it comes with fantastic new gem shapes and, you know, polished up graphics and everything else. So definitely worth having a look. And I can certainly recommend this game most highly. Played it quite a lot of late, and it's an ideal game to be played for 30-40 minutes, you know, like in between the biggies, the big open world games or RPGs, and you can always have a lot of fun. Also it does have quite a few achievements if you're one of those guys who wants to be collecting the you know, the points. So what else do we have? Loads of news coming in this weekend. Honestly, I'm snowed under with everything coming through Twitter and all other forums. So we have well, the last bit of news. First look at MLB, the show 21 gameplay. Quite curious about. I'm not really a huge fan of sports in video gaming, and similar to Jeff Rubinstein, I kind of like playing sports outdoors rather than on my console. But to tell you the truth, lots of my friends were telling me I need to try FIFA, I need to try Football Manager, I need to do maybe some of the other sports games, and certainly the recent videos and developer diaries that I've seen are very, very curious, because some of these games are almost, you know, considerable RPG content with story that follows the activities, and I guess similar to what we've seen with fighting games. I talked about this yesterday about Tekken 7 offered this weekend free of charge on Xbox free play days, and in the old days you'd have fighting games a bit like with, you know, amusement arcades. You just get characters to fight and that was it. You collect points and, you know, but the new gen fighting games will be a combination of fighting with strong story-driven RPG content. I think Tekken 7 really excels that. I think Mortal Kombat there too. I've not played the latest one, but definitely want to try it. And Tekken 7 are available in a very remastered, beautifully polished new edition with fantastic graphics, a lot of story-driven content, brilliant music, and everything blends in perfectly. You keep like your diary of activities in there. So if you've not tried it, definitely this weekend should be yours for Tekken, still available to play free of charge until I think late Monday in Europe. But going back to the news, first look at MLB the Show 21 gameplay. So it is obviously a game dedicated to 2021 Major League Baseball season. I beg your pardon, it's basketball, and everybody is excited to basically look at the first extended appearance of MLB the Show 21, and the premiere features like pinpoint pitching, new gameplay styles. There will be some other additional content as well. And then I think on Xbox they released the first 2 feature premiere videos that cover these and many more in-depth commentary from the developers at San Diego Studios. So if you're interested, just head to Xbox YouTube. You'll be able to get all the details, and they're also archived on theshow.com. But you know, YouTube Xbox channel is good enough. And they have remaining feature premiere schedule, ball play introduction, more variety and different ways to play than ever before. Franchise and MTO empowers you to make the decisions for the future. MLB The Show goes to next gen. Diamond Dynasty streamlined with new parts and rewards. So the list goes on and on with all those nice inclusions. And if I'm not mistaken, when is it coming out? Yeah, the pre-orders open through December the 31st of 2021. So that's basically early access to the game. Will be available from April the 15th. Any collector's edition purchase will donate $1 to the Jackie Robinson Foundation for every MLB The Show 21 collector edition sold in the US when from the pre-orders open through December the 31st. So obviously, you know, I'm not really familiar either with the names or with baseball, but certainly the US gamers will be very much at home with that. Therefore, I recommend the videos in full. I think that's all the news I have. Let me just have a look at this again. Yeah, that's right. These would be the news for this weekend. As you could see, loads of things are coming in every single day. It's really hard to catch up with this abundance of titles, and you know, there's so many different developers. And I watched a presentation the other day on Xbox, and you know, idea of Xbox with so many interesting games. And what was fascinating for me was to see that the indie games are no longer the way they used to be. In the past, you'd be able to say, "Oh, I can see this is coming from an indie developer because it just looks a bit arcade, a bit old, you know, old school." There were several games in there. There was one game that opened the whole presentation, and it looked very much like Halo. It was very polished, very advanced, very exciting, and full of battles and full of vehicles, new characters, and also taking place in what appeared to be a fairly big open world. And again, an indie game, you know, just really incredible. Echo Generation, for instance, the game coming our way, very excited about it. Looks a bit retro, but very, very funny, beautiful dialogue, and very family friendly. And there was another one, 12 Minutes, for instance, a very interesting game because it has a repetitive cycle where you are reliving a sequence where you're being burgled and killed. So a bit interesting and a bit kind of perturbing to see that I, as a gamer, would be reliving the same traumatic event again and again, but I guess every time there'll be a different outcome. So, you know, and many other games as well. So anyway, all of you who are interested in independent games and idea of Xbox, you definitely need to have a look at the presentation. It is freely available on Xbox Twitch channel, and that's the only place where I could find it, in fact, the full version. Otherwise, if you just want to see the trailers, head to Xbox YouTube channel. All the trailers are there. Alright, so that's all really that we had as far as the news are concerned, but now we'll progress to what we like doing the best in here, and that's our community-based content. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for watching and supporting my podcast. This is a new venture here on the channel. I had lots of great emails with feedback, so I'm very, very happy. And today we'll be looking at 2 which had arrived recently, and I think they were in response to our podcast on Thursday, which indeed was telling you all about the way one runs a Twitch channel, what needs to be done first, basically the groundwork, starting from the ground up. And the question was coming from Josephine. Josephine is in Bristol, so thank you, Josephine, for taking your time to write. And she says, I'm a streamer, and I had varied degrees of success with my streams. I've done it for several years. I've streamed on YouTube and on Twitch, and generally I find it very difficult to first of all find the best game to stream that would attract a reasonable number of people to become members of my community. I tried various games, some worked, some didn't, and some provided me with too much of that so-called toxic content. So she's asking, I'm really quite curious about your choices, and most importantly, when you get people talking live online, when you bring them in to play the games with you, how do you tame their behavior? What is the way through which you will make sure that they will not be disreputable and that they will be behaving according to your rules? How will you avoid what frequently happens with shooters and PvP games, where everybody becomes very, very obnoxious, starts swearing, starts offending others, in some cases saying things which are highly offensive, and therefore they affect both yourself as a streamer and your community? What is the best way to tackle this? Well, thank you, Josephine, for providing us with this in-depth analysis and I guess maybe 5 or 6-tier question, because all these issues are very, very important, and all of them belong to everyday work if you are a streamer. Principally, we'll go back to the schedule and the system and all I described in my podcast on Thursday. In order to run your channel properly, first of all, you will need to have moderators. Okay, so that's most important, and your participants need to know through the chat rules and your channel rules that your channel is moderated. What does that mean? Well, simply it means that whatever people do and say there, it's not just watched by yourself and maybe a couple of other souls on the internet. It is being monitored by people who are making sure that the content is aligned and in sync with the rules that are provided by Twitch. And they're very, very detailed, and they're very, very precise, and they're very, very draconian if, for instance, some of them are broken. What happens to many streamers is that they first of all have not read the terms and conditions that they're subscribing to. They've not read them because they're very voluminous, and they have different selection rules depending on whether you subscribed or whether you signed up as a mature content streamer or the one providing the content for family-friendly audiences. Both communities have very lengthy rules, and I think every streamer would need to digest them perfectly and know every one of these, because they will have to be respected not just by the community members but also by the streamer. I went to a conference at the offices in London, the European offices of Twitch, a little while back, a couple of years ago now already, I think, and it was a wonderful event. We had everyone. It was just an industry-based event. There weren't people who are not connected to the industry there, and the vast majority of the folks were either the streamers or people who work in developments, people who create games, and most important, those who work on the communication, on the interactivity systems, the systems which we use in order to connect with others. So we all talked in depth about all these issues and problems, and the biggest problem for Twitch is, they've grown exponentially since 2015, and they didn't anticipate this degree of growth initially. They were absolutely staggered. They thought that lots of people would want to be streaming games and watching certain activities. They also thought there would be a greater variety, maybe just not just everything to do with gaming, but people doing various other things. Initially, they assumed that YouTube would be a serious competitor. They thought that YouTube was already present for more than 10 years and providing everyone with the same sort of platform that was well embedded within the community, well established, more popular, with many other people just watching videos, creating clips and everything else. They got it wrong, because people who came to Twitch were there especially for the games, and the system that Twitch offered, which had a channel per title, proved to be incredibly positive and well embraced by everyone in the community. It meant that if you are a Destiny fan, you can just go to the Destiny channel, find any streamer, watch whatever they're doing, and very easy to use, very easy to access the chat, and very quickly they established a system through which every channel would have to have their own rules, and also they would need to present the rules to the chat, and that is the first thing that you need to do. Okay, on my channel, the chat rules are basically the channel rules. The rules are also stated on my information page on Twitch, as well as on my Discord. So principally anyone who is a regular member of my community, which means a follower or a regular participant, will have to read the rules, and if they read the rules, and if they enter the forum, they basically subscribe to them. It does say at the end of the rules, anyone who's in breach of any of them will be investigated, and if there are serious breaches, then there will be suspensions and lifelong bans. Lifelong bans are not really reversible, and they will be not taken lightly, and they're applied to situations where certain types of offences are committed. In addition to that, being obviously a mature streamer and somebody who's experienced in broadcasting, if somebody was saying things which are prosecutable in a court of law, then the incident, as you know, will be both recorded and archived, so anyone can see it and analyze it on Twitch and YouTube, and then it will be basically followed up through the authorities rather than myself or my moderators. So there need to be procedures clearly explained on the rules, and many people, after they click on the chat and they get a pop-up which tells you that you need to abide by these rules if you're here, otherwise there will be action taken, will be a good safeguard. Lots of people who otherwise will be ranting or saying unpleasant things or swearing, if for instance swearing is prohibited on the channel, they will not do that, because they will see that the channel first of all is moderated, so there will be other people watching the channel and monitoring the content. There will be the channel owner, the streamer, who's also watching everything, and they will have to abide by the rules. So it's a good deterrent. It's a good start, and I think you've got to have all of that fully in place in order to deter as many as possible who otherwise would be giving you the unwanted content. So that's the very beginning. Moderators. So initially you will put all the rules on the information page, on your Discord, and on your chat. So anybody entering your channel, when they want to figure out who you are, they'll get the rules, right? The rules will need to represent you as a streamer, the way you are, what you want to have on your stream, and how you want to deliver it. Number 2, moderators. Well, that's a bit tricky. You have 3 options immediately. One is automated moderators. So you will on Twitch set up the words which are prohibited on the channel. The algorithm will spot people using the words, and they will be then given timeouts, bans, and everything else. This is the option I would not recommend. Okay? People could say certain things in a context which the algorithm will not be able to pick up, and therefore they will receive timeouts and bans for no proper reason at all, and that causes just a major headache. You can certainly create the algorithm in there, or the automod, where certain words are prohibited. That's fine, but don't forget, if you put the words in there, the spelling will be what the algorithm will recognize. Simply spelling in different fashion, then the algorithm will not pick it up. They don't have the algorithms which are similar to Google, which would be very, very precise. And in any case, algorithm is a machine, don't forget, and things could be taken out of context, and therefore action may well be taken, which sometimes is not really either good or appropriate. So I'll leave it to you to decide, right? But for me, that's not an option. The option number 2 is selecting some members of your community. If you have a big, vibrant community of gamers and viewers, you will have maybe a few who are prepared to be volunteering for your streams. If you're a professional streamer, you will have a regular slot in a day or in a week or every day where they will have to be monitoring your content. Sometimes they'll monitor, or they can monitor, your content live online. If they're in a different time zone, they'll monitor the content when you are on the playback. The option where they're monitoring on playback is not the preferred option, because you can have incidents taking place that potentially would be detrimental to the channel. You can get community strike, or there could be reports. Other people could be forwarding complaints to Twitch. And make no mistake, that is what you do not want. You do not want to happen at any time. You do not want people to be complaining about your channel to Twitch, because Twitch will take action, and you will have then serious problems. So basically, you need to have maybe some community members who are also streamers or very dedicated to your channel, and then they could be monitoring your channel live when you're streaming, literally throughout the whole duration of your broadcast. So it's very, very important. Secondly, you may want to have an external company, and for that you will need to invest. You will need to pay them, of course. And an external company of moderators is probably the best, because A, they would be doing this as the the main job. Secondly, they will be very objective and professional, and they will follow the rules. You'll have to give instructions on what is available and what is allowed on your channel. They'll kind of watch your channel for a while before they get really the full flavor, and you will need to pay them. Basically they will monitor your channel in the same way as you have people in professional broadcasting. If you're looking for something which is top notch, that will be very, very expensive. But having either of the groups in place, be it from your community, people who will be moderating your channel, and that's the most popular option. You will have loads of streamers who use the friends and the dedicated community members to do that for them, and they do it diligently and they do it professionally. It's a very good way of connecting. The only difficulty there is if you're running a channel with games that are accruing a considerable number of toxic comments. So you'll get Call of Duty, you'll get PUBG, you'll get shooters where there's all about winning, elimination, obliterating other teams. Well, these are the games that, unless properly moderated, could generate a lot of toxic content. It could be very, very upsetting for many people, be it the streamers or participants. And I've come across that in various forums. It didn't happen on my channel. I've had no problems so far, because the channel is heavily guarded and heavily moderated, but I did have some situations where I felt uncomfortable with the participation of some of my competitive community members, where they would come across with views and maybe positions after a hard working day that was not really fully aligned with my channel rules, and that is something that I will always endeavor to avoid, full stop. So if you're streaming Mondays games, obviously these games are very popular. They do attract quite a few viewers. Warzone probably the best example at the moment. PUBG was exactly the same little while back, and Apex. So it's a three-piece that is full of competitive gamers, and you can have the content that is really not pleasant unless properly moderated, and then you will need to have those people fully on board. They will need to be watching your streams and basically moderating all the activity as it unravels. What I need to state very clearly is, even if you have moderators, even if you are monitoring your own channel and chat, when you're playing with the randoms, you will get sometimes people saying things which are not acceptable. We have no control over this. So if you're doing the games like Apex, Warzone and PUBG, remember, these are match-based games, right? So you'll be in a lobby and you'll be joined by other people coming in. So as they come in, you need to state immediately. You need to tell them even before the match starts, we are streaming live on Twitch. This is a channel which is family friendly, or this is a mature audience channel. You need to abide by the Twitch rules. Okay, so that's good enough. If they're interested, they can click on your link, they can go to your channel, find out about your rules. But so you need to abide by the Twitch rules. It means that any form of misadventure which is in breach of Twitch rules will have action taken, but you have no control over those random participants. Remember that. If you have your regular community participants, you have full control, because you know who they are, obviously they use IDs, you're in regular contact, and they need to be abiding by your channel rules 100% at all times, full stop. Otherwise your moderators will need to take action, right? What I want to say, or describe quite clearly, is a distinction. It's a difference between those people who are coming in randomly to random matchmaking and others who are your regular community members. So the same rules apply, but the way you interact is significantly different. You will be absolutely intolerant 100% towards anyone saying something defamatory who comes from the random group of players. If you have your community who are always there every single night or every single day, particularly if the community is really closely knitted, so people know each other and they know each other, personal details, private lives, whatever, they can talk sometimes about things like current state of affairs, the pandemic, maybe the current politics, and that's all kind of good-spirited, all well embedded. So that's nothing to be, worried about. But it needs to be within the rules. You can't be having then comments that somebody could consider sexist or off-putting or discriminatory. That's just not acceptable. And for the randoms, you always need to make sure you mute everyone immediately. You can tell them about the rules and leave them on up to the point where they respond. If you, for instance, see that you're running, let's say, an English-speaking channel, and it says expressly on the chat rules that people participating to speak in English, for everyone to understand, because quite frankly you can have somebody speaking Norwegian or Swedish, and the English speaking people, unless obviously they know the language, will not understand, and all kinds of things could be said which may well be understood by the people who speak that language. So therefore, in order to avoid a clash, you need to make sure that that's actually not acceptable on the channel. You're not discriminating, it's just that, it's a bit like if you're watching the news. You can't be having 3 or 4 different television networks from various parts of the world cutting in because people don't understand. So that's important. And then you will frequently see the immediate response from the random viewer, from the random participant. He will tell you something which is very pleasant. All right, understand, very good, I like Twitch. Or you'll have somebody who'll say immediately something very offensive. If that is to happen, you have 2 choices. One is to mute this person immediately, so nobody can hear anything they say, and obviously you can't either. Or you leave the match. My personal preference is leaving the match straight away. For one simple reason. If I leave the match straight away, I'm basically displaying both to my viewers and to that uncanny, unpleasant participant that we are not going to be tolerating this. Anything which is considered questionable, like for instance we've seen in Warzone, most frequently what we came across was cheating, people using various PC-based tools in order to rig the game, to shoot through the walls, to get aimbots, and all kinds of things which are ruining the game for everyone. So in my team, whenever we spot somebody like that, even if we eliminate it, which happens always if we are facing hackers, then we'll just watch. We'll watch for a while to get convinced that this person indeed is a cheat, and we are going to be all then reporting this person 5 times within a very short period of time for cheating. So 4 of us, that's 20 reports within maybe a period of 1 minute, which will make Activision, the publisher of Warzone, highly alert. They will see that somebody's doing something very wrong within a very short period of time, and therefore they will take action. The same thing would happen on Twitch if you had a participant who is describing something which is defamatory or offensive, then all the community members will report that person at the same moment through chat. So you click on the user ID and you ask community members, this person is obviously doing something which is against the rules, and I'd like to ask all my community members who are watching to report this person immediately. So I've had a situation in my Destiny stream where somebody like that would pop in, had let's say 25 viewers, and all 25 reported this person immediately. So Twitch received 25 reports on that person to 25 different viewers who were actually watching and participating in my live broadcast. And obviously Twitch would take action if they have quite a few reports from different people about the same individual within a very short period of time. Then there won't be just algorithm, there will be a person looking at whatever was being flagged, and that will resolve the problem. So that is the way to tackle it, that's the way to tackle it. So to summarize, you've got first of all the benefit of setting up your own rules, which is your own channel rules. They need to be aligned with Twitch, they need to be published on your Discord, on your information page for Twitch channel, as well as on your chat. They need to be exactly the same. Anyone entering is then subscribing to these rules. If they're breaking the rules, they are then to be the action is to be taken against them. The second step is engaging moderators, either through automated moderators, which will prohibit certain words and certain phrases and sentences, or to the use of community members who become your live moderators, who will watch your channel, and they're active moderators inducing bans and timeouts and everything else. Or you'll bring in an external firm that will do this for you, which will do it professionally. You'll need to invest, you need to pay them for the work, but you will have then no problems, because with an external firm moderating, they will also be in position to take additional action. So for instance, you can be then reporting one person not just to Twitch but also to the publisher and people who are involved with a particular game, and it's just a much more higher level professional way of tackling these issues, depending obviously on the resources that you may have. So that's as far as the structure of the overall online communication is concerned. But on the other hand, in addition to the rules, and as I said, everything written or moderated, what's even critical, even I would say more important, equally important, is the way you come across. Right? So the way you come across live online, how you present yourself, will also be stimulating a particular kind of cooperation and contribution from all the live online members. If you come across as somebody who is ranting and swearing and doing things aggressively, you will be obviously bringing in quite a few people through that. If you're coming across as very polite, quiet, civilized, maybe very mature, then that will be off-putting to people who usually rant and produce toxic content. So that's very important. The way you present yourself, the way you come across, always needs to be true to core and always the same for any forum that you have live on Twitch, irrespective whether you're doing cosplay or you are doing gaming or discussing things in podcasts or chatting with the community. It doesn't really matter. It's just your personality that will be absolutely most important in there. And on the other hand, you also need to consider that the type of game you're streaming. So competitive games will always have people who get very excited, and this is not really dependent on how long they play the game. It's all down to the character. Some people are more likely to be reacting on an impulse or drive. They get very erratic, they get very angry, and they're very temperamental, emotional overall, and they could be then feeling very excited if things do not go their way. Equally, they could be excited if they were winning or everything went right, and that will stimulate a certain type of response, which I find sometimes to be not appropriate for my channel. I've had several members in like 6 months who were like that, and I explained that to them, and they're basically taking the decision not to be coming in to participate live because they felt, although they enjoyed the channel, they couldn't really contain themselves. And that's, it's a good way of tackling it and acknowledging that there is that side of the personality, and they can still connect with my community members outside of the live online forum. I think that's needs to be very clear to everyone. A live online community is something which is like a living organism that's breathing and existing live online, and you as the channel owner does have the ultimate responsibility over everything that's happening out there. So for instance, if you had, let's say, 2 or 3 people who are your regular community members, and then after a while, 6 months, you get a complaint from one of them saying, this person who I met here on your channel, he's been causing me a lot of grief and a lot of problems and all this. And then obviously you'll take action. You'll take this up with that particular community member, ask them about the incidents or the problems, and you will want to get some degree of clarity. It's true that the problems didn't happen on your channel live online, but they met through your channel, so you have that responsibility, and the other person is also a community member of yours, and therefore you can clarify it. Most of the times these issues will not take place, but you've got to be prepared for contingencies. You need to be prepared for what can be happening if everything goes south. Trying to think also of another area which can be of concern. It's a type of game you're going to be streaming. There are games that are attracting a lot more aggression, a lot more hostilities, and a lot more so-called toxic content. And I'll give an example. When Apex came out a couple of years ago, we had very many people migrate into the game from Battlefield. I played with probably more than 500 Battlefield veterans during the first couple of months, and we had quite a variety. There were people who were absolutely top-notch. There were very experienced video gamers, people who did esports professionally. There were people who were learning about how to play FPS. There were some people who enjoyed squads and the kind of online PvP effort. So altogether, there was quite a variety. And due to that, we had a lot of interesting discussions. All of these discussions were looking at the very basics. How can we make our community enjoyable, entertaining, and safe? And I've got to say, and I'm very sad to say that, a number of female gamers and streamers who were constantly bringing to my attention that they are at the receiving end of abuse. And the abuse was frequently discriminating against them on the grounds of gender. It was sexist. They were feeling hassled. They were given unwarranted type of comments and advances and requests, which were unsavory. And the list just goes on and on and on and on. And that's just completely unacceptable. us as community live, us as the leaders of our online community. Excuse me, I've got a problem with my voice for some reason. I don't know why. I need to drink something. Bear with me. As the veterans of online gaming and online streaming platforms, ambassadors of Xbox, PlayStation, any other forum, we need to promote ethical gaming. We need to make sure that everybody understands that the way we need to behave in public, with its rules and constraints, needs to be applied to the online environment. We need to do exactly the same. We need to be abiding by the rules. We need to be respectful. If somebody doesn't like a particular streamer, if they have a problem with something that this person is displaying, particularly if they are live online with a cam on, they need to leave. They need to leave them alone, because that person is doing work. They're doing something which is valuable, that requires a lot of preparation, and something that needs to be rewarded. So if you want to be doing something else, you're not happy with what you're saying, well, do not really stand in the box and just depart. Leave this person alone. Not just them, but also their community. It's easy to tackle if you are streaming and you have maybe 50 to 100 people watching who are your regulars, because anyone who wants to do a misdemeanor will be immediately reprimanded, and that will definitely have an impact. I've had that several times with some of my Destiny streams. You will know that in Destiny I'm not really that keen on the Crucible. I find the Crucible to be just a very repetitive, very boring, very unadventurous, unimaginative type of PvP selection of death matches. Tight maps, death matches. It's all about speed, jumping, quick execution, and it doesn't really provide me a lot of entertainment, contrary to everything else you have in Destiny. Right? Everything else for me is tremendous, but the PvP in there, definitely a non-starter. And if I was to be choosing the least favorite activity for me, it would be the Crucible. My community members could tell you this. But sadly, for whatever reason, the Crucible appears to be the most popular. And you will have lots of people doing it and then trying to do speed runs, trying to use glitches, trying to get the very best score, etc., etc. The list just goes on. And we've had maybe 2 or 3 situations, a period of 3 years, so it's really very minor, very insignificant, where we played in our team and we sort of eliminated some of the other guys, and then there was one particular team, I guess it must have been a squad or a clan, and they were really unpleasant. And I would say that probably also, youngsters, they weren't really older than 18, and they tried to hack into the account, and they kept coming in through different user IDs, and they were saying various things which were completely unpleasant, and we all took action. So the whole lot were not just banned from Twitch, they were banned from Bungie. They lost their Bungie accounts, which means that they couldn't really access Destiny anymore on any platform. And this was the action taken on behalf of myself, my moderators, and Twitch, because we all reported this activity. The activity was visible live online. At the time, I also used the on-screen chat display, so anybody who was watching my PlayStation stream could see the chat fully displayed on the screen too, rather than just through PC. And that was good enough. It was evidence. So the other thing, if you're looking at how to tackle it, you need to have the rules book and you need to follow procedures. So for instance, somebody's banned for life, they may be rebelling, but you need to have the procedure, which is then explained to them, i.e. basically what you will do to protect your interest and what they need to do if they want to be contesting the ban. Because somebody might be just sending messages on Twitter or trying to spam you with unwarranted emails. That's not the way to tackle it. It's just like when you are having problems with your mobile phone or your operator. If they ban you or if you're disconnected, you need to go through the procedures in order to get your connection back. So it's exactly, you need to keep it basically absolutely neat, clean cut, and highly professional. And the last bit of information would be I guess, connected to the question that Josephine asked, and that's what types of games would be the best for enjoyable online entertaining activity that do not generate toxic content. Well, I think generally if you're looking at the games that stimulate elimination or aggression or highly competitive type of activity, they will attract all sorts of people, and you will, through randoms in particular, get sometimes unpleasantries, which I need to stress will never ever need to be taken personally. You need to approach it from a professional point of view. It's a bit like a footballer. You've seen recently there's been a huge amount of concern about things being thrown at footballers from the terraces, and all kinds of abuse, from minor swear words to the most despicable type of racist abuse that somebody can receive. And it is something that is unacceptable. It requires to be punished by the law. But the footballer or the sportsman needs to be professional. He needs to follow the drill in order to contest this. So equally, everyone who is in the streaming business needs to do the same. First of all, you need to know your rights, your legal rights, and you need to know that you are the owner who's upholding the channel rules as well as the rules given by the platform, namely Twitch, and you just follow it by the book. It's nothing personal. You may feel personally attacked by somebody who was coming to the channel for a while and then suddenly, turned tables and became very unpleasant. It can happen, but don't forget, if you're running an open forum which is accessible to literally anyone, then you will get to know people as you carry on. And some people become very close, very dedicated members of the community, others will not. And that itself will be, of concern. You will want to make sure that everyone who's in your community, even if it's a very large community, is definitely the way they should be. And there's nothing better than having a great community live online where people kind of meet up through your channel and they become good friends, and they set up separate clans and they play games together, and a few years later you get a message from saying, absolutely wonderful, we're still good friends. You get a message, we actually got married. It's just very, very rewarding. And don't really get put off by minor incidents, even by the major ones. Simply carry on, remain professional, and wait for that beam of positivity, because our communities are very, very strong. We provide a forum which is strengthening those who are in the need, people who are vulnerable, people who suffered, and certainly my channel had provided this forum for very many. And I'm very pleased to say that our recent sessions with Warzone were exactly like that. We have several members in there who suffered serious illness, serious disability, people who have special needs, and they felt fully included. They just loved the activity. They find it to be great. But Warzone does have that competitive streak, and sometimes things will pop up and affect some people. It's just part and parcel of the game. Yet again, everything needs to be run according to the rules on the channel, and this is what we uphold. And also, there's one more thing which I did mention to Josephine. If you have viewers on your channel and they start complaining about a particular person, you need to take action immediately. It's as simple as that. Doesn't matter whether the person is live online or whether he was being spotted at some other forums. They will know who the person is, and having your regulars will be good enough for you to rely on their judgment, particularly if it comes from several people. And you need to basically take charge and full responsibility over everything that's happening live online, because as the owner of the channel, you have full control and you're fully responsible. So the content that comes from your regulars, who also will be talking live online, is your content because you're in charge. And I think generally when you have, let's say, half dozen people who are frequently talking live on air, there should be no problems. But they need to be sometimes coached a bit, depends on the age and the maturity, and obviously very different if you have somebody who's 17, 18, or somebody who is of a mature age. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a person of 17 or 18 would have to be mature. It's quite the contrary. You can have a person of 35 or 45 who can behave in a way which is completely unreasonable. What I'm trying to say is you need to play it by ear and make sure that everybody understands what your rules are, how your procedures are followed, and how you will be acting if certain things are said or done on your channel where you feel that the participant is not complying. Wow, so that was a lot of descriptions, and it was certainly a selection of tips on how to really run the channel in order to filter certain types of communication. And I really thank Josephine for being a dedicated community member and a streamer and a Twitch community participant. Grateful for your views and comments, because in fact I talked a lot about the selection of games, various other things, but we didn't specifically look at that, which is how to be curbing on the unwanted content. And I think curbing on the unwanted content could be seen as undesirable, because it could cause conflicts. You can have a member of the community who suddenly becomes rogue, and the whole community could be suffering. Therefore, so you need to exercise it with care, and you need to be measured, and sometimes people for some minor things need to be given warnings. And I think a streamer needs to make sure that participants will be aware of the fact that others could complain, and a streamer could have community strikes, and could be suspensions and restrictions on the channel, lifelong bans, because if somebody was saying certain things live on air, and this has been picked up by the viewers, particularly if you stream to, let's say, 6 or 7 different platforms, they've got the right to complain, and they will not complain to YouTube or to Periscope. They'll complain to Twitch, because they know you're streaming on Twitch, and those complaints will be looked at. Don't forget, Twitch is archiving all the streams, and they'll be able to see very easily on whether they'll be able to detect whether the complaint was relevant. So a lot to think about, a lot to digest, and there isn't the right or the wrong game. In any game you can have somebody who's unpleasant, but I'd say the games that are based on aggression and elimination are likely to be generating maybe a few more of such participants. You will choose the game or a selection of games that are close to your heart, the ones that you play the most, the ones that you want to be streaming. And playing a game or streaming a game that you don't actually like is not going to be a particularly good way forward. The viewers will realize you're not really into it, and that's about it. I mean, I run DRBMiller Introducing, and I introduce selections of games in there, and sometimes the game is the one that really grabs me. I really love it, like Spiritfarer, for instance. At other times you have games that are a bit not as interesting, and you're still introducing them. You're introducing them to yourself as well as to your viewers, and that itself is something that provides you with a great experience, where both yourself and the viewers will be doing it for the first time, and therefore providing each other with feedback. So we've come to the end of our podcast for this wonderful Sunday, and I want to thank Josephine for this wonderful question. So glad to see that the questions I received were really so well blended in, with the content of our podcast, and that's terrific. I'm so grateful to everyone who watched and listened to my musings and ramblings on playback, and we probably will get many more once I archive everything on YouTube, and I just hope that we'll also make it sometimes a bit more interactive live online, but I can't unfortunately stream it through just chatting, because streaming to consoles doesn't allow this option, and we do it through our Destiny channel, so our Destiny veterans and Destiny viewers could pop in and have a look and enjoy and participate in all of our discussions. And we've had some podcasts that were very, very vibrant and very interactive. We had several veterans popping in, and it was a conversation flowing back and forth, so I was very, very happy, elated and encouraged. So dear friends, we've come to the end of our podcast for today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting the channel and the podcast. Many, many more new things are to come here. We'll have Outriders from 1st of April, our next big AAA blockbuster stream here on my channel. We'll go back to Destiny very shortly. We've had some questions in response to the absence of the game. And we'll carry on with the usual, introducing some of the games, playing some of the big ones, and following the trail of Bethesda, new inclusions. The list just goes on, and quite frankly it's very hard to provide you with that degree of continuity, because we can have it with certain games, but then we're introducing so many, it's very, very difficult for a game like Fallout 3 to have a lengthy, permanent, long-term continuity. But I can't be streaming just one game like Fallout that's kind of story driven for, let's say, 10-15 weeks, because we've got to have other slots. And on the other hand, I feel if I'm offering just one game at all times like Destiny, then I'm not doing myself justice. So we have to play it by ear. Anyway, so far so good. So thank you for watching, thank you for supporting my channel, thank you for watching this podcast as well, and I shall see you all tomorrow. Take care.